chart. Isn't that good?
Mm-hmm. What happened to the A++? Oh,
That's at the top.
that's his self-grading.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't let people self-grade.
We would have liked to. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm proud to be joined by my colleagues here today. Now, today, Senate Democrats, we're launching our 2026 initiative focusing on the number one issue that the American people face: skyrocketing costs. They just can't meet the bills. They just don't have enough money in their pockets to pay the bills, to buy the medicine they need, when your car breaks down to get it fixed, and then you'd have no way to get to work, to get the kind of groceries you want for your families. Costs are skyrocketing. And Democrats, in 2026, you'll be hearing from us about costs over and over and over again. On the contrary, Donald Trump tonight is going to try to talk about his accomplishments, but it's going to be a very short speech because Donald Trump calls affordability a hoax. He gives himself an A++ on the economy, as Professor Warren said. Everyone would like to self-grade in her classes, too.
Yeah.
But if there were an objective grader, it would be F on energy, F on housing, F on groceries, F on health care, F on tariffs, which leads to a final grade of F.
We can do the math.
The facts are, Americans are telling a lot different story than Trump's own self-grade. He promised he'd bring costs down on day one. That was his number one promise. That was the number one reason he won the election. And costs are going up and up and up. It's been 331 days since he was sworn in, and the American people are still waiting for his promise to be fulfilled, but it hasn't been. He just lies about it. He just lies. He makes it up. Grocery bills haven't gone down. Electricity costs haven't gone down. Housing costs haven't gone down. The kinds of things you buy at stores haven't gone down. And health care hasn't gone down. All of it is going up. The truth is, for too many Americans, costs are just too damn high. The cost of living, the affordability crisis, you can call it whatever you want. But in Trump's America, people are being squeezed in every direction. I just finished my 62-county tour in New York State. I always do it every year. The number one issue in every corner of my state was how hard it is to afford things that you need. Whether it's rural areas, suburban areas, urban areas. Whether it's red, blue, or purple. It's the number one issue that is on people's minds, and Donald Trump and his billionaire buddies just don't get it. Trump, just last week, you know what he said? People should buy fewer toys for Christmas. What kind of bubble is this man in? Does he ever go to the grocery store and have to buy meat? Does he ever have to pay his own electric bill? No. None of these things. Our senators are going to focus on key issues now. Today begins it, but all year long. And we've been doing this all along, but now in 2026, it is our main focus. Senator Klobuchar has been doing a great job as our DSPC chair, working with me on these issues. Senator Warren will focus on housing costs. Senator Cantwell and Lujan on food and household costs. Senator Heinrich and Whitehouse on energy costs. Senator Wyden and Sanders on health costs. Senators Markey and Warnock on tariffs. We're focusing on the 5 major areas that is making life so much harder for American families: health care, energy, housing, groceries, and tariffs. So on all of these issues, I could go into the specifics, but I'm going to let my colleagues do that. And just say, we believe that the cost of living shouldn't be a constant crisis. It should be something that the American people can live with and contain. And while we don't know what 2026 will bring, I can promise you this: Democrats will fight making costs our highest priority. I've been in great touch with Hakeem Jeffries and our House Democratic team, and they are on the same page, and we're all going to be focused like a laser on this. Republicans are ignoring the affordability crisis. Democrats are fighting to make things more affordable. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Schumer. And we know what is dominating people's discussions at home in the holidays. They're horrified what's going on around the world, yes. They can't stand this chaos. But the thing that is affecting them day in and day out are those bills. Are they going to be able to afford to have their mom in the nursing home? Are they going to be able to have to choose between paying for groceries or filling their prescriptions? That's what's happening right now in this country, and more than 70% of Americans, 70%, this is a poll out today, an NPR poll, say the cost of housing, groceries, healthcare, and utilities are going up. And guess what? Their bills don't lie. Their premium notices don't lie. So the piece of this that Senator Sanders, as ranking on the Help Committee, and Senator Wyden are focused on, they couldn't be here today, is health care. I think you know where Americans are on health care because you just saw it over the last few months when we focused on the premiums. And the fact that they would not even get out of their MAGA shell just a little bit to help with their constituents when 75% of the people on the Affordable Care Act plans that are seeing these double and triple of premiums are in red states. They're in their states. And so you see a scramble, but they yet have able to come up with any health care plan that is coming up for a vote that could help their constituents on premiums. But we're going to make the case in this report on health care that it's much deeper than that. The big, beautiful betrayal of the bill, look what it did on Medicaid. When I'm out at rural hospitals, when my colleagues are in rural hospitals, that's what we hear about. They're already hardly hanging on a thin margin. And when you mess around with the Affordable Care Act plans, when so many of them are in rural and 27% of our farmers and ranchers are on these plans, and you add to that these Medicaid cuts, and then you add, as Senator Lujan will discuss, these grocery increases, they just can't afford it. And the last thing that I don't think is always the elephant in the room when it comes to health care and the safety net for people that no one talks about is long-term care. I knew the exact day that my dad was going to run out of his savings. He'd had 3 marriages, lost a lot of his money. We're not going to go into that. That's for a more amusing press conference, I guess. But he then had was going to turn to Medicaid. I knew what that day was. I knew when I was going to have to move him into a different nursing home that took Medicaid. That's how so many people are feeling right now. So these cuts they've made to Medicaid is not just about health care. It's also about long-term care and the fact that Americans need leaders and leadership in Congress and in the White House that's going to stand up for them. So that's what we're up to. And the next person coming up is Senator Whitehouse. He and Senator Heinrich are leading the group when it comes to energy costs.
Thanks, Amy. So 2 things to know about energy-related costs. One is that electric bills are going to keep going up for people, and electric bills are going to keep going up for people because they are being driven up on purpose by the Trump administration. To understand how that works, you have to understand how the generation stack works, how units get called up as electric demand grows. And what you see when you actually look at how the real world responds to energy demand is you see that solar and wind and battery and nuclear are the inexpensive ones that are called up first. And when you pull them off the grid, when you sabotage clean energy, as Trump and his minions are trying to do, you drive that demand further and further up the grid. So a customer pays more for getting access to that power from the grid, and a big fossil fuel donor gets to run a plant that would otherwise be idle because it's too expensive to run. It's money directly from consumers to Trump's big fossil fuel donors. So this is not only a cost problem, but it is a corruption case, and we intend to make it aggressively. The other area is on homeowners insurance, which is exploding in cost around the country. In some areas, it's the biggest cost people face. In Florida, the homeowners insurance market is in full meltdown, $14,000 a year average already, and climbing dramatically. And it's that way because the Trump administration won't look at extreme weather and climate change. They can't do it because they're too tied to the fossil fuel donors who they're serving. And so the homeowners insurance problem is going to get worse, whether it's coastal storms, whether it's Midwestern hail, or whether it's Western wildfire. It is going to get worse, and it's going to cascade into mortgage markets and decreases in property values. This is a big story that we're going to tell, and we're going to hang the blame on President Trump and his corrupt fossil fuel donors, which is exactly where the blame belongs. Thank you.
Senator Warren.
And I was just introduced by Senator Whitehouse. So Donald Trump promised on day one that he would lower costs for families. And now here we are with costs up, up, up for American families. Housing is the number one cost for families all across this country and the number one concern for families all across this country. Housing costs are not just up, they are way up. So, for example, the cost of rent up 4% since Donald Trump has been inaugurated. The price of new listings of homes up 22% since Donald Trump was inaugurated. And the really scary one, the number of foreclosures in this country up 20% since Donald Trump became president. Today, the average age of a first-time home buyer in America has hit 40 years old. This tells us just how hard it is for people trying to get into the housing market and how hard it is for people who are trying to sustain their housing costs. The reason that we have this housing crisis right now can be laid directly at the feet of Donald Trump and the Republicans. The tariffs that Donald Trump has put into place have increased the cost of building a new housing unit in America on average by $11,000. So our one hope, and that is to increase supply, is something that Donald Trump has directly driven the price up on. Now, Democrats have been busy on the housing front for this whole year, and we worked with our colleagues across the aisle here in the Senate and got a housing bill through unanimously, a bill that was aimed toward increasing housing supply in all parts of America, rural America, urban America, first-time home buyers, senior living, renters, purchasers. It's a good bill. It passed the Senate unanimously. And what happened? Republicans in the House put a stop to it. So there we have it. Through tariffs and through obstruction of legislation, Republicans are directly driving up the cost of housing right now in America. So we have a message. If Republicans are not going to bring down the cost of housing, then leave it to the Democrats, because when we're in charge of this place, we are going to bring down housing costs. And with that, Senator Markey, my partner from Massachusetts.
Senator Markey and Senator Warnock are heading up our work.
Thank you. So what should be a season of giving has become a season of paying for 36 million American small businesses, paying more for health care, paying more for electricity, paying more for just about everything because of Trump's tariffs. And instead of making it affordable to start and run a small business, Trump is turning Main Street into Pain Street across our nation. And last week, in a move that would shame Ebenezer Scrooge, the Republicans, House and Senate, are denying 22 million Americans the tax subsidies they need to pay for their health insurance. And on January 1st of next year, those 22 million Americans are going to be faced with healthcare catastrophe. Either they're going to lose their health insurance or the price is going to double for them. Now, here's the story. For small businesses, 10 million of the 22 million people are either small business owners or work at a small business. They're Kiwanians. They're Rotarians. They're local Chamber of Commerce members. And their workers are just the regular people in town working at those small businesses. They are going to be pummeled because of that healthcare cost increase. 10 million of the 22 million work for small businesses. Electricity rates are going up 13%. That pummels small businesses in our country. They don't have the same flexibility big businesses have to pay that bill, and electricity costs, as Senator Whitehouse said, are going to skyrocket even more next year. So for those small businesses, they are confronted with tariffs that are punishing them intensely. Business is down for small businesses in our country during this Christmas season. The tariffs on their goods for food, for clothing, for toys, even for Christmas trees, skyrocketing and affecting their profitability. So Trump refuses to do anything about those tariffs. If you're a big business, you can go in and give them a gift, and maybe they'll take care of your company. But small businesses can't do that. They don't have an extra million, to be able to donate to the new Trump ballroom, to be able to pay for a party down in Mar-a-Lago. So they are suffering, and they're right on the front lines of this healthcare, electricity, and tariff regime that is punishing those Main Street firms all across our country. It's Robin Hood in reverse. They are taking from the small companies in order to give tax breaks to the CEOs of the biggest companies in our country. And ultimately, it's not a wonderful life on Main Street this year for small businesses. They are absolutely suffering, and it's been my great honor to partner on this issue with the great senator from the state of Georgia, Raphael Warnock.
My colleague, Senator Markey, describes it right. What we're witnessing is Robin Hood in reverse. They are literally taking money from the bottom and giving it to the folks at the top. Socialism for the rich. Donald Trump promised the families across our country and the families of Georgia, where he won and where I won, that he was going to lower their costs. And he's done the exact opposite. Everywhere I go across the state, from cities to rural communities, from my hometown of Savannah to Atlanta, to small towns in between, the story is the same. In blue districts in Georgia and red districts in Georgia, their dollar is not going far enough, and it's getting worse. And this is a result of tariffs. But I think every time we say tariffs, we ought to be really clear about what a tariff is. It's a tax. And so let's be clear. They have given a historic tax cut to the wealthiest of the wealthy, and they are taxing all the rest of us. And families are feeling the pinch. He promised them that he'd drive their costs down. Instead, he's taken an extra $1,200 out of the pockets of Georgia families this year alone. And next year is estimated to be $1,700. That's real money for ordinary people who cannot contribute to a White House ballroom. These reckless tariff taxes are especially difficult on young families. Some of the young people in my church who are married or who are planning on getting married, who are having children, they are seeing that the cost of everything from cribs to strollers to baby monitors, all of it has spiked. Donald Trump has made it difficult to start and grow a family in America. Almost half of all families say that they're buying less gifts this holiday season because of the increase in prices. I was at a small business a few weeks ago, and it's a chocolate manufacturer, our own living Willy Wonka. It was fun to be there. But I have to tell you, those folks, small business, are really struggling because not only is the price of sugar going up for them, not only has the price of cocoa beans gone up for them, the very paper that they wrap the chocolate in has gone up. And as a result of that, they have had to raise prices on their customers. and they've had difficulty making long-term investments. They would like to have a tariff waiver. But this small business, these owners don't know anybody in the administration to call. They don't have anybody that they can bribe in order to get a tariff waiver. And so Donald Trump said that he'd give himself an A plus. And then he thought about it. He said, on second thought, it's actually A plus 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 plus. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, who was he talking about? If this economy is the best that Donald Trump can provide, the question is good for whom? Certainly not the people that I talked to in rural Georgia. And so it's clear that he could do something about this. Let me be really clear. The Congress could fix this. Tariffs are in the wheelhouse of Congress. And if our Republican friends were actually working for the people who elected them, we could fix this tomorrow. But Donald Trump is working for his billionaire friends, and Washington Republicans are working for him. Democrats are working for you.
All right, excellent. And next up, the number one issue that Americans are focused on when it comes to costs is groceries and household items. Ben Ray heads up the very important Ag Subcommittee on this, and then he's pairing up with Maria, who's the Rankin Commerce. Ben Ray.
Thank you, Amy. Look, you all go to the grocery store, you know how much more you're paying. There's a lot of coffee drinkers in here because I see some of you in the morning. It's not just the coffee that's more expensive, it's the cup. Every input that goes into that coffee is more and more expensive. Some of you might enjoy bananas in the morning if you're fortunate to get some. Cost of bananas through the roof. And look, you're trying to get ground beef or maybe even a cut of steak or something, a roast, to try to feed the family yourselves. Up, 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 up. There's just no question. And as Raphael said, look at families that have little ones. Strollers, diapers, baby monitors, everything is going up. Plain and simple, President Trump lied to the American people. He fooled them. He said to them, when they were in need, I'm going to lower your costs, and he kept lying and lying and lying and lying. Let's see what happens tonight. President Trump's going to go try to just make up some more facts and say, no, it's just your imagination. That beef's not 23 or 33% more expensive. It's just your imagination. There's less money in your checking account. No, that's just your imagination. It's one lie after another. Everything is getting more expensive. It's Donald Trump's tariffs, taxes that are just reaching, where President Trump reaches into the pockets of the American people and is taking one buck after another. One lie after another. Enough is enough. On top of all of that, many of you have reported about the negative impact to small farmers and ranchers. I don't know that I've read many stories about the cost to grocery stores. If you all examine what's happening with independent grocery stores across America, I think 12% on average of the money that goes into those grocery stores comes from SNAP beneficiaries. In a lot of rural grocery stores in different small towns across America, it's about 80%. So what happens now that they took almost $200 billion in SNAP? That's not gone away, y'all. That still is real. And that's going to start hitting people this year. What happens to those rural grocery stores? On top of those rural health clinics that Senator Klobuchar reminded us of, one closing after another. This president said he was going to be good for rural America. The only thing good he's going to be good for is putting more people out of work and making food get more expensive and healthcare getting more expensive. I'm not even going to talk about the scar in the back of my head. We did that a couple weeks ago. Just sit back and reflect on the bullshit coming from this president, where he's misleading the American people and he lies to them one after another, one word after another. He says something on this side and distracts you with his hand, but the other one goes right in the hand of the American people into their pockets, and he steals one buck after another. That's what's happening.
Thank you. We'll take some questions to any of us on this subject. Yes.
Yeah, the president's been traveling around this month talking about it a little bit, but he's been almost exclusively blaming President Biden. Do you think that's an acceptable excuse?
No. People want their costs to go down. They don't want a finger pointed at what happened months or years ago. We are here to say We are ready to take charge and have those costs go down. We're ready to work with Republicans if they'll help us get costs down. Trump's in a bubble. He doesn't get it. Yes.
Senator Warnock talked about how Congress could roll back these tariffs. We know about the IEPA emergencies that the Senate did pass, the House sat on, and of course it wouldn't be high enough because you need more Republicans to have it be veto-proof to really roll back those tariffs on Canada, the reciprocal tariffs, and so on. I want to ask about the plans to try and bring more Republicans to reassert Congress's role in tariffs. There's also the bill that Senator Grassley and Senator Cantwell put together that would give Congress a veto on 232 tariffs, which are the housing, the cabinets, and the 2x4s. Also, cars from Canada, minivans from Canada, 25% more expensive. So could you talk about what the plan
You
could be?
can come
to
up here
try
and join us.
Let me just say that we are ready to work with our Republican colleagues.
Right.
And I think they would make a better decision, a different decision, if they were talking to their own constituents. This is in the wheelhouse of Congress. I'll tell you, look, I came to this business later into my career. I've spent most of my life as a pastor. I can tell you that it was not easy getting elected to the Senate. I don't understand why you would go through all the things we have to go through to get this job just to give your power to somebody who wants to be a unitary executive.
And one more
Not a
thing on the,
Unitarian.
Not a Unitarian. We like
That's all
Unitarians.
fine.
And Pentecostals. And
As you all know, yes, we actually have passed 3 bills out of the Senate when it comes to the tariffs, with getting Republicans to join us, some because they are states. Senator Kaine and I and Rand Paul led the Canadian one, 2 senators whose states border Canada, and then 2 senators who care a lot, even though they don't agree with each other on much, Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell, but they do care about Kentucky bourbon taking off the shelves in Canada. We also passed the bill on Brazil out of here. We passed the bill, Senator Wyden's bill that was an across-the-board bill with Republican support, but now it is sitting over in the Speaker's candy jar with the way too expensive candy. So that's what's happening right now because we have acted in the Senate. We're waiting on the House to act. Obviously, the president would probably veto these bills, but at some point our colleagues, as Senator Warnock explained, are going to have to say, who are they here to represent? Are they here rubber stamping Trump, or are they here for their constituents? And finally, we wait on the court case, where we hope the decision will come out before the end of the year.
I think 7 Republicans co-sponsored the Cantwell bill with Grassley, 7 or 8. So, look, we just need in the House and the Senate Republicans to join us and buck Trump and do what's right for their constituents. It's that simple. Desiderio.
Leader Schumer, can you talk a little bit about how all of this might factor into the amendment strategy the Democrats are going to undertake as part of the minibus funding bill that is going to...
Look, costs are going to be one of the main issues. You'll see many good amendments that deal with these issues. We'll see where our Republican colleagues are. But costs is going to be one of our main thrusts. Anytime pieces of legislation come up in everything we do, our focus is going to be on costs, whether it's legislation on the floor, whether it's in the courts, whether it's our spotlight hearings, whether it's what we talk about when we go on the shows. Costs, costs, costs. The prices people need to pay for essentials is too damn high, and they know it. And they want some people to do something about it. Yes.
Leader Jeffrey seemed to allude in regards to healthcare and the enhanced ACA subsidies. January 15th is a day that you might still be able to do something, or do you see it as...
Look, once January 1st occurs, as I've said over and over again, the toothpaste is out of the tube. January 1st, it expires. Once that happens, millions will be without health care. There'll be no ACA credits. Tens of millions more will have changed their policies that are much worse for them, higher deductibles, higher copays. A lot of people are going to have to change their doctors. You know how heartbreaking it is? If you've ever had a relative, a child, a parent who's had a great doctor, and then they're gone, they can't treat you anymore because the health care costs have changed, it's heartbreaking because you put your faith and trust in this doctor. That's going to happen millions of times in America after January 1st. Yes?
On healthcare, we now know there will be discharge petition, there will be a vote in the House on
on the ACA subsidies. Obviously, a similar bill already failed to reach 60 votes in the Senate. Here's what conversations you've had with Senate Republicans and plans you have to try to change that in the new year.
Yeah, it's up to Senator Thune. I hope it passes the House. They did get, I think, five Republicans as of now to sign it. I hope that Johnson won't play little games that he sometimes can do with the discharge petition. But if they send it to us, we already had every Democrat vote for the 3-year clean extension. We hope Thune would put it on the floor and let it pass. Thank you.